All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're doing something a bit different today, but honestly, it is absolutely fascinating. We're going to unpack just one single, highly evocative, creative directive. Think of it as a master blueprint for spiritual awakening and energy manifestation. It's essentially a tight set of instructions designed to conjure up a very specific metaphysical reality right out of thin air. And as we go through this, we're going to deeply analyze exactly what this text demands from us, visually, conceptually, and emotionally. We'll see how just a handful of carefully chosen words can literally architect a complete spiritual visualization. But before we look directly at the source text, I want you to pause for a second. Consider this profound challenge. How do we actually visualize human energy? I mean, how do you translate the completely invisible, entirely metaphysical concept of human energy into a tangible, structured, visual form? When we talk about auras and spiritual presence, we're inherently talking about things that don't have physical boundary lines, right? Yet, to explain or visualize them, we have to give them a shape. Keep that tension in mind, that push and pull between the formless and the formed, because it's exactly what our source material is trying to navigate. Okay, here is the entire source text for today. Ready? Create short video of an aura in shape of human getting her energy chakra open one by one. Make it look spiritual. It's super brief, it's direct, and frankly, it's written with the demanding all-caps authority of someone who knows exactly what they want. Every single phrase in this 24-word sentence carries just a massive amount of visual and conceptual weight. This isn't just some casual request, it is a strict architectural plan for manifesting a spiritual event. Part 1. The foundation, manifesting the human aura. Let's start by breaking down the literal nuts and bolts of this prompt. The text explicitly asks for an aura in shape of human. Now, think about what that instruction actually demands. It demands a total departure from physical flesh, blood, and bone. It requires us to define the human shape purely, and I mean purely, through the lens of an energetic, glowing aura. The source material is essentially stripping away the entire biological reality of a person. Instead, the boundary of the human figure is now defined strictly by light, presence, and raw spiritual energy. The foundation here isn't a person with an aura glowing around them. No, the person is the aura. And this brilliantly illustrates the conceptual contrast right at the heart of the directive. The text pits the familiar structural outline of a person, the physical silhouette, directly against the dynamic, formless nature of pure energy and chakras. It's an instruction to take something we all instantly recognize, the physical shape of a human being, and fill it with concepts that completely defy physical geometry. By forcing these two ideas together, the source material dictates a visualization that bridges the gap between our grounded, everyday reality and a much higher ethereal plane. Part 2. The sequence, a spiritual chakra awakening. So, moving on from the foundation, we've got to look at the specific choreography required here. A manifestation isn't just a static picture on a wall. The absolutely crucial point is the active phrase, getting her energy chakra open. The text frames this manifestation not as some frozen snapshot of an enlightened being, but as a continuous, highly dynamic process of awakening. Getting open, that implies a real transition. It tells us that we're witnessing a real-time event, an ongoing action where potential energy is actively being realized. The directive insists that you, the viewer, must watch the awakening happen, rather than just stumbling upon the aftermath of it. When we really synthesize the text, it implicitly outlines 3 strict, non-negotiable steps to capture this progressive journey. Step 1, the baseline reality is established, the aura in the shape of a human. Step 2, the attention narrows down and focuses strictly on the internal energy centers, the chakras. And Step 3, the active opening phase begins. It is a tightly controlled narrative arc, zooming from the macro view of the whole human shape right down to the micro, intensely powerful activation of the energy centers. And this right here, this is perhaps the most controlling instruction in the entire text when it comes to pacing, one by one. By explicitly demanding that the chakras open one by one, the source material absolutely forbids a sudden, instantaneous flash of light or a simultaneous explosion of energy. No way. Instead, it dictates a meditative, highly deliberate narrative arc. It literally forces a rhythm onto the visualization. This step-by-step sequential opening creates anticipation, reverence, and a profound sense of an ordered, deeply intentional spiritual awakening. Part 3. The aesthetic. The spiritual visualization. So, what's the overarching tone that actually governs this whole visualization? Well, we have the subject, we have the sequence of actions, but the source text throws down a simple, all caps command: make it look spiritual. This final instruction gives the opening of the energy chakras its profound metaphysical weight. It's the umbrella that colors absolutely everything that came before it. The aura can't just look like sci-fi energy or glitchy digital noise, and the opening of the chakras definitely can't look like mechanical gears turning. Every single visual choice made to fulfill this text has to be filtered through this final, emphatic demand to make sure the whole manifestation resonates with spiritual reverence and ethereal beauty. To sum up our explainer today, there are 4 strict, non-negotiable pillars derived right from our source text. For this creative directive to actually be fulfilled, these core elements must perfectly synergize. First, you need the human shape entirely replaced by aura. Second, you need the active state of awakening. Third, you absolutely must follow that meditative one-by-one sequence. And finally, it all has to be governed by a deeply spiritual aesthetic. It really is a masterclass in how a single 24-word sentence can totally dictate a vast, complex, and highly specific visual reality. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder as we wrap up. The text we explore today outlines a very specific blueprint for an external entity. But what if you applied this exact sequence to yourself? If your own energy were to shed its physical shape, and your centers were to awaken deliberately, one by one, governed by a pure spiritual aesthetic, what would that spiritual energy physically manifest as, right before your eyes? Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating directive with me today. Keep wondering and keep visualizing.